Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing great today. Let me ask you a simple question before we begin. Have you ever watched a scary movie and said, "I was full of fear," while another person said, "The movie was pure horror," and someone else said, "It scared me a lot"? These words look similar, but are they really the same? Today, we are going to understand the detailed difference between fear, horror, and scare. We will discuss their meanings, the uses, the grammar, their emotional strength, and the situations where native English speakers naturally use them. This lesson is going to improve your vocabulary, your speaking skills, and your understanding of emotional English. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to use these 3 words correctly and confidently in daily conversation, writing, storytelling, and even professional communication. So let us begin with the first word, fear. Fear is mainly a noun, but it can also be used as a verb. Fear means a feeling of danger, worry, anxiety, or nervousness caused by something that may hurt you physically or emotionally. Fear is one of the most basic human emotions. Every person experiences fear at some point in life. When we use fear as a noun, we talk about the emotion itself. For example, fear is natural in dangerous situations. His greatest fear is failure. Children sometimes have fear of darkness. When we use fear as a verb, it means to feel afraid of something. For example, I fear losing my job. She fears heights. They feared the storm. Fear is often connected with real or imagined danger. It can be small or very intense depending on the situation. Fear can happen slowly or suddenly. Sometimes fear stays in the mind for a long time. Now let us understand the common uses of fear. Fear is used when talking about emotions, anxiety, danger, stress, uncertainty, or emotional weakness. It is very common in psychology, news, literature, movies, and daily conversation. For example, fear of failure stops many people from trying. The fear in his eyes was obvious. People lived in fear during the war. Now let us look at 5 detailed examples of fear. Example 1. The little boy felt fear when he heard strange noises outside his room at night. In this sentence, fear is used as a noun because it describes the emotion. Example 2. Many students fear speaking English in public because they worry about making mistakes. Here, fear is a verb because it shows an action or feeling. Example 3. The sudden earthquake filled the entire city with fear and confusion. This sentence shows collective fear among many people. Example 4. She overcame her fear of water after taking swimming lessons for 6 months. This example shows that fear can be reduced or defeated. Example 5. I fear that we may not reach the airport on time due to heavy traffic. In this sentence, fear means worry or concern. Now let us move to the second word, horror. Horror is a noun. It describes an intense feeling of shock, terror, disgust, or extreme fear. Horror is stronger and darker than ordinary fear. Fear can be mild, but horror is usually very intense. Horror often includes emotional shock and mental disturbance. For example, the accident scene filled everyone with horror. She watched the horror on his face. The news caused public horror. Horror is also commonly connected with horror movies, horror stories, horror games, and horror literature. In entertainment, horror is a category designed to frighten people deeply. One important point to remember is that horror usually describes a stronger emotional reaction than fear. Fear may come from danger, but horror often comes from something shocking, terrible, cruel, or disturbing. Let us compare them simply. Fear is the feeling of being afraid. Horror is the feeling of extreme fear mixed with shock and disgust. For example, you may feel fear before an exam. You may feel horror after seeing a terrible crime scene. Now let us discuss the uses of horror. Horror is used in situations involving violence, tragedy, frightening experiences, shocking discoveries, and terrifying entertainment. It is often emotional and dramatic. For example, the villagers watched in horror as the fire spread rapidly. The horror movie kept everyone awake at night. There was horror in her voice. Now let us study 5 detailed examples of horror. Example 1. The people looked on in horror as the building collapsed during the earthquake. This sentence shows intense emotional shock. Example 2. He could not hide his horror after hearing the tragic news. This example shows emotional disturbance. Example 3. The horror film was so frightening that some viewers left the cinema early. Here, horror is used as a genre of entertainment. Example 4. She screamed in horror when she saw the snake under her bed. This sentence shows sudden extreme fear. Example 5. History books describe the horrors of war in great detail. In this example, horrors means terrible events and suffering. Now let us move to the third word, scare. Scare can be both a verb and a noun. As a verb, scare means to frighten someone suddenly. As a noun, scare means a sudden feeling of fear or panic. For example, the loud noise scared me. You gave me a scare. Scare is usually connected with sudden fear rather than long emotional fear. It is often temporary and quick. For example, a horror movie may create horror. A barking dog may scare you suddenly. This is an important difference. Fear is an emotion. Horror is extreme fear and shock. Scare is the act or experience of becoming frightened suddenly. Now let us discuss the uses of scare. Scare is commonly used in daily conversation because it sounds natural and simple. It is often used for temporary fear. For example, do not scare the baby. That sound scared me. I got a scare last night. Scare is also used in expressions like scare someone to death, scare away, scare off, health scare, pregnancy scare. Now let us study 5 detailed examples of scare. Example 1. The thunderstorm scared the children because the lightning was very loud. In this sentence, scare is used as a verb. Example 2. You scared me when you suddenly appeared behind the door. This example shows sudden fear. Example 3. The strange message gave her quite a scare late at night. Here, scare is used as a noun. Example 4. The barking dog scared away the thieves from the house. This sentence uses the phrasal idea of causing fear to make someone leave. Example 5. There was a health scare in the town after several people became sick. In this example, scare means public panic or worry. Now let us compare all 3 words together in a simple and clear way. Fear is the general feeling of being afraid. Horror is extreme fear mixed with shock and emotional disturbance. Scare is a sudden moment or action of causing fear. Let us understand this with one situation. Imagine you are walking alone at night and hear footsteps behind you. First, you feel fear because you think someone may be following you. Then you suddenly see a strange figure in the darkness, and you feel horror because the situation becomes shocking and terrifying. Finally, if someone suddenly jumps out from behind a wall, that action scares you. This example clearly shows the difference. Now let us discuss grammar and sentence patterns. Fear as a noun. Fear of something. Fear about something. Examples. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear as a verb. Fear something. Fear that. Examples. I fear snakes. She fears that she may fail. Horror is mainly used with horror at, horror of, in horror. Examples. Horror at the violence. She stared in horror. Scare as a verb. Scare someone away. Scare someone off. Examples. The sound scared me. The police scared off the criminals. Scare as a noun. Give someone a scare. Get a scare. Examples. That movie gave me a scare. I got a scare last night. Now let us discuss emotional intensity. Fear is normal and broad. Scare is quick and temporary. Horror is deep, dark, and intense. Think about it this way. A small spider may scare you. A dangerous animal may create fear. A terrible murder scene may cause horror. Now let us discuss common mistakes learners make. Mistake number 1. Using horror instead of fear in normal situations. Incorrect. I have horror of exams. Correct. I have fear of exams. Why? Because exams usually create anxiety, not extreme shock. Mistake number 2. Using scare as an emotion for long-term anxiety. Incorrect. I have scare of flying. Correct. I have fear of flying. Why? Because scare is usually sudden and temporary. Mistake number 3. Using fear when horror is more suitable. Incorrect. People watched the tragedy in fear. Better. People watched the tragedy in horror. Why? Because the situation involves shock and emotional disturbance. Now let us discuss pronunciation tips. Fear sounds soft and emotional. Horror sounds heavy and dramatic. Scare sounds sharp and sudden. Your tone of voice changes the meaning strongly when speaking English. For example, I fear losing him. This sounds emotional and serious. That scene was horror. This sounds intense and shocking. You scared me. This sounds sudden and immediate. Now let us practice with real-life situations. Situation 1. A student before an exam. The student feels fear because he worries about failure. Situation 2. Someone watching a terrifying crime documentary. The viewer experiences horror because the scenes are shocking. Situation 3. A friend suddenly turns off the lights and shouts loudly. That action scares everyone. Now let us understand some advanced expressions with these words. Fear expressions. Fear of failure. Fear for someone's safety. Live in fear. Face your fears. Examples. She lives in fear of losing her family. He finally faced his fears. Horror expressions. Frozen in horror. Scream in horror. A look of horror. The horrors of war. Examples. The audience screamed in horror during the movie. The soldier described the horrors of battle. Scare expressions. Scare someone to death. Scare away customers. False scare. Panic scare. Examples. The explosion scared people to death. The rumor created a panic scare. Now let us compare these words in storytelling. Writers use fear to build tension. They use scare for sudden surprises. They use horror for emotional shock and darkness. This is why horror movies often use jump scares. The movie belongs to the horror genre, but the sudden moments are called scares. That is a very important difference. Now let us take a final comparison in one sentence each. Fear. She felt fear before entering the dark forest. Horror. She looked in horror at the terrible scene inside the forest. Scare. A sudden scream from behind the trees scared her badly. Can you notice the emotional progression? Fear begins the emotion, horror intensifies it, and scare describes the sudden frightening action. Before we end this lecture, let us quickly revise everything. Fear means the general feeling of being afraid, worried, or anxious. Horror means extreme fear mixed with shock, terror, or disgust. Scare means to frighten suddenly or the sudden experience of fear. Fear is emotional. Horror is intense and disturbing. Scare is sudden and temporary. Understanding these small differences makes your English more natural, more powerful, and more advanced. Native speakers choose these words carefully depending on the emotional situation. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. I hope this lesson helped you clearly understand the difference between fear, horror, and scare. Now I want you to practice these words in your own sentences. Try to create one sentence with fear, one with horror, and one with scare. The more you practice, the more confident your English will become. See you in the next lecture with another interesting English topic. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep speaking English with confidence.